Welcome to this video where I'm going to go through the 2017 November past paper from the programming portion. The first thing I'd like to point out is that you should take the text file that comes with the download, leaders.txt, and you should put it into the source folder of your NetBeans project. So I called my NetBeans project Grade 11 Prac 2017. And so what I did is I put it into the Grade 11 Prac November 2017 folder, which is in my NetBeans projects folder, which is in my documents folder. You might have changed this location, but if you've changed the location, you probably also know how to get there. Okay, so that's the first thing. And you can see over here, if I click on files and I expand the plus sign, my leaders.txt is there. It's in the right place. So you don't want it in the SRC or the NB project folders. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a package. It's not compulsory, but it's good programming practice, and otherwise NetBeans moans at you every time you try to add a class, so we'll do that. Okay, so let's get on with the programming. So the first thing I see is my UML diagram. This tells me what the class is going to look like, and well, that's a lot of methods. So you sort of use a combination of the questions and the UML diagram to create the class. So the first thing I can see over here is create a class called leader with fields to store the name, which is a string, staff rating, grade 11 rating, grade 10 rating, and camp staff rating. Use appropriate types for your fields. And in our UML diagram, they've given to all of us little typo there. It should be a string, not a sting. And you can see from the minus sign that they're all private. So let's create our new class, which name I've forgotten. It is called leader. Okay, no main method in this class until you get asked to create a main method. So we need private string name, private int staff rating, private int grade 11 rating, private int grade 10 rating. I could probably save a bit of time if I put all the ints on one line. I wouldn't need to keep typing private int, but I'm just kind of in the habit of putting variables on their own lines. Private int camp rating. If I had a lot of variables, I'd probably compress them. Right, then we need a constructor. Code a parameterized constructor that will assign values to each of the fields. It's probably good practice to practice creating a constructor, although there's nothing stopping you from inserting the code here, because they're literally just assigning the values, and you could just tick all of those, click generate, and there is our constructor, but we're going to do it by hand. So private leader. Actually, one thing I do want to point out, sorry, actually this is quite important, is over here, you can see that they've given us the variable names that they want for our parameters. Okay, and you are going to lose marks if you don't use those variable names. Okay, you obviously can't copy and paste, unfortunately. But anyway, so now name equals n. And I've seen a common mistake I've seen people mistake is that they type n equals name instead of name equals n. And if I was to do this, currently, like name is the field, it's currently a null value, it's got no value, and n is the parameter, it's the one that's being sent in. So all you're doing is overwriting the parameter with the null value, so you don't actually save anything. That's exactly the wrong way to do it. If all of your values are null, that's the first thing you should be checking. Okay, then staff rating equals SR, grade 11 rating equals grade 11, grade 10 rating equals grade 10. Oh my word. I keep forgetting my semicolons. And camp rating equals CR. Right, we've already got 8 marks out of 80. So in fact, we're on 10% for the programming. And that was easy. Code accessor and mutator methods for all the fields. Okay, that is a lot of accessor and mutator fields. And you can see over here that certainly for the getters, it's just straightforward. So I'm in fact going to insert those. Normally I'd almost type them out by hand, but that's a lot of them. Okay, so I've done getters and setters. So let's just double check according to my UML diagram. So get name returns a string, that's perfect. And then set name takes in a string called n. So I'm just going to rename that. Then get grade 11 rating is as normal. And then set grade 11 rating is going to take in a value Gr11 and Gr10, and then the camp rating presumably is going to be CR. Okay, so you do want to make sure that your fields match the UML diagram, and that's SR. Okay, so I've got my getters and setters. Code a method called getPoints to calculate and return the points for each leader stored as a double. Okay, so if I take a look at it again, getPoints is going to return a double, sorry. So public double getPoints. No parameters. It's returning a method, so it's just a sort of getter. I mean, sometimes you are going to send a parameter and it'll get modified in some ways, but in this case you can see there's no parameters there. So the points for each leader are determined by multiplying the staff rating by 3, grade 11 by 2, camp staff rating by 4. And these are added to the grade 10 rating. So points is equal to that. I could create a temporary variable, but there's no need. I can literally just go return 3 times staff rating. Oh my word. Plus 2 times grade 11 rating. Plus the grade 10 rating was not anything. And I think that's 4 times the camp rating. Let's double check that. It is. The I have no idea what I was going to say there. I genuinely don't. Oh well, can't be that important. Okay, code a toString method that will return the name, ratings, and points combined as a string separated by tabs. Okay, I'm not going to use the insert code for the toString because the toString is actually quite different. And you'll see for most of these tests, the toString will be deliberately different to avoid people just sort of inserting code for the entire class. So this, we're not doing anything fancy. So again, I can just go straight to return. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Over here, it's going to follow BODMAS, so it will multiply before doing the addition. If you were nervous about that, though, you could put brackets, but they're not necessary. I'll put the brackets in, although, as I said, really not necessary. Okay, so, but maybe you want to see what the brackets look like. So we're going to return here, it's name tab, so it's name plus tab. Let's just copy that. So name plus tab plus staff rating plus a tab. Let's put a space there. Plus grade 11 rating plus a tab. Then it's grade 10 and camp. Plus grade 10 rating plus camp rating. And then plus a tab, and then plus points. And it's quite common to do this. You need to call the getPoints method. So I want to see, like, are you really going to recode the getPoints, or are you just going to call the method that you have? Okay. And that's a string. I think, so it's complaining, but my pluses, I'm probably missing a plus somewhere. There we go. I've got a double plus. Okay, so there we go. And code a method called remove vowels. And this is actually where all the marks in this method come from. There's also that, we'll see. So to remove the vowels from the leader's name, excluding the first letter, the method must change the name field so that it's permanently changed. So it's not just something like over here where we get points. Like getPoints doesn't change any of the values. We're just returning a changed value. So this one, it's going to be probably a void then. And you can see, there's no In fact, they haven't put types for any of these. Well, just, but yeah, there's no return type, so it's a void. So it's public void remove vowels, especially because it's changing the name field. If it wasn't changing the name field, then we'd have to return a string. Otherwise, we wouldn't see the benefit of this at all. Let's spell it correctly. Okay, and I think the easiest way to do this, in fact, is just to build a new string. So I'm going to go string temp, and we can say temp is equal to name dot char at 0. Because we're never going to remove the first letter, whether it is a vowel or not, and it's going to complain because that's going to give me a char. So let's just add it to an empty string, and there we go. Now I can just do a normal for loop. For a change, we're going to start at 1, because I'm going to start at the second letter, and I'm going to keep going while I is less than length of name, so name.length. And then basically if name.charat I, and I want to see if it's a vowel. Okay, so there is an isVowel method, so I can actually do character dot just going to get rid of that. So it's character dot, I think character dot is, it's not, okay, there, oh yeah, there isn't an isVowel. I think there's an is everything else, but there's not an isVowel. So couple of ways we can do this. You know what I'm going to do, in fact, is just so this ends up not being, sorry, name.length should be to the brackets, just so I don't end up typing a huge confusing line of code. I'm going to say char current is equal to name.charat I. And now what I can do is I can say if char is equal to A, or char is equal to E, or char is equal to I. I think we can assume actually it's going to be lowercase. Or char is equal to, in fact, let's definitely make it lowercase. Although, what do we add? O or char is equal to U. Technically, I suppose someone could have a capital letter, like if they had something like O'Connor. So in fact, we can't really assume. So what I could do is do a name.to lowercase. Then that's going to change the current vowel. You know what? Okay, cool. So that's definitely going to make lowercase. So my if statement will work. And then I actually don't want to do anything under these circumstances. Oops. I think I'm missing my double equals when I started getting distracted about uppercase and lowercase. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to not everything. And you would think you could put a not there, but you actually have to put a whole set of brackets around the not. So anyway, so if it's not a vowel, then temp equals temp plus name.charat I. Okay, and I can't just replace it with current because I made current lowercase and maybe it won't be lowercase. Sorry, that should be a charat I. Okay, there are slightly more efficient ways of doing this, but this is easy to understand, so I'm going to leave it there. Okay, and then finally I want to say that name equals temp. This is the bit where I'm actually changing name. Cool, so that should now be another 9 marks. Let's get the final 4. Code a method called less than 3 to return true if a leader has a rating less than 3 for any of the following. The method must return false if all the ratings are 3 or above. Okay, so that's not too hard. So public, imagine this is a Boolean, but let's just double check it is a Boolean. Less than 3. Okay, and basically, if staff rating, any of the ratings, so if staff rating or grade 11 rating or grade 10 rating or camp rating, oh, I'm a moron. If staff rating is less than 3, you can't just, in my mind, I was going to put a big less than 3 at the end, but I really can't do that. So if any of these are less than 3, return false. Otherwise, we're just going to return true. No, I'm an idiot. If any of those are less than 3, we're going to return true. Otherwise, we're going to return false. Think about it. This is what's going to happen if it's less than 3, and we're calling the method less than 3. So if they're less than 3, I want to return true. If the method was greater than 3, then we'd have done the return as I basically did. There's 34 marks. It's out of 80. In fact, we're almost half done in terms of the programming. In fact, yeah, wow, look at that. This is going fast. So question 3. This is going there. Here's where our array is. So this is probably the thing that you're actually looking for help with. So here is our new Java class, leader array. Once again, we've got a UML diagram to help us, which is very nice. Oh my word. Okay. Code a class called leader array to store 50 leaders in an array called leadr, and a variable to record the number of lead objects in the array, and you can see they want us to call that variable size. So it's private leader leadr equals new leader 50. One of the few times we're not using the new keyword to call the constructor of leader. This is just making the leader array give it space for 50 objects, and private int size. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to do a constructor. So public leader array. I'm not going to auto insert constructor because it's pointless, because we're not sending any parameters to this. Okay, code a constructor to instantiate the array of leader objects using the text file leader.txt. Display an error message if you can't find the file. So we're going to create a scanner, sc file, new scanner, new file, and the file is called leader.txt. And at this point, I do find it handy to have the file open. And I can see already that I've misspelled the file name. It's leaders. Okay. As soon as this happens, a couple of error messages. We're going to want to import java.util.scanner. Fortunately, we can just click. We're also going to want to import java.io.file. And finally, it's going to complain that we're not doing a file not found exception. Do not throw your errors. Catch them. Always catch them, or you're definitely going to lose marks. And we want to change it. The error message. So we'll just say could not find file. And then I like to add the stack trace anyway, because I found it quite useful. Okay, and so now once we've done that, while our file has another line, I'm going to say that we have a new scanner sc line, we now is equal to new scanner sc file dot next line. So we've got two scanners working here. So our first scanner is going to scan through the whole file, and it's going to read in entire lines at a time. That's what's going to happen when I call sfile the next line. It's going to give me JSON, 2, 2, 2, 5. And then Karan, 2, 3, 5, 5. Okay. And then what I need to do is I need to split this up. And you could do it with like an index of and a loop there, but scanners are much easier, I find. And what you need to do is our delimiter here is the comma. I actually forget what the default delimiter for a scanner is because I never use it. So we'll just go scline.use delimiter, comma. You could put the use delimiter method right next to your sc line. You could put it over here, but I've seen a whole bunch of people try and put it in the wrong place, and then they get confused and everything. So I like to do it over 2 lines. Obviously, if you get it right on 1 line, then yeah, I mean, just keep doing that. I don't know why I keep going to the question paper, because we know what to do. So then we want to create a leader object. Our leader needs values for, if we look at the constructor, name, staff rating, grade 11 rating, grade 10 rating, and camp rating. Here they are. I'm just going to double check they're coming in the right format and that they haven't been sneaky. Okay, the file contains the leader's name, staff, grade 10, grade 11, and camp. Oh, look at that, they have been sneaky. Staff, grade 10, grade 11. And if you take a look, this looks once staff, grade 11, grade 10, camp. So in actual fact, they've switched those two around, so we're just going to have to be careful there. So, string name equals scline.next, because it's basically, there is no, like, you're getting a string very commonly, so that's the next thing. If you want anything other than a string, it's int in this case, staff rating. Let's just call it staff is equal to scline.next int. Int grade 10 is equal to scline.next int. Int grade 11 is equal to scline.next int. I don't think they were deliberately trying to be tricky here with the grade 10 and grade 11. I think it was actually more, you know, by the time they got to the next question, they didn't go back and check in what order they'd put it in. But certainly, you definitely want to check to make sure you don't make a mistake, because, you know, they might get fiddly about that. And then all we do is we say lead r size, which is currently 0. Let's just instantiate it to 0. Is equal to new leader staff, no, name staff. Let's just double check with our constructor. So it's expecting name staff 1110 camp, grade 11, grade 10 camp, and it's complaining about something. Oh wow, oh. Public leader, my mistake. I hope no one stopped watching after the leader class. That was silly. Constructor is always going to be public. Well, certainly for you guys. And then we increment size. If we don't increment size, we're going to keep putting our leader into the first element in the array. And so we're going to lose all the data. And that should be working. Hopefully the next question is a toString, and then we can test it out. Code a toString. In the format of the toString of the leader class, each leader should appear in a new line. So when they say using the format, the toString of the leader class, that just means don't get all the fields and display them or anything. So public string toString, and this basically string ret, therefore return. I'm going to do a for loop that's going to go from 0 while it's less than size. And then basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to say that ret equals ret plus our leader r I. I could go .toString, but I don't need to. Cannot find simple. It's lead r. Apologies, I'm doing this while I'm very tired. It's going to complain here that ret might not have been initialized, so I can't add anything to it. So let's just initialize it to an empty string, and then we can return ret. And at this point, before I did anything too fancy, I would actually test it. So what you could do is you could go over here to the, it's going to be a leader UI. So let's just create that. I'm just going to save. Okay, all our errors have gone. So new Java class leader UI. If you don't want to jump ahead, just create a class called test. And all I'm going to do here, it's going to ask us for a main method. I know that from doing like a million of these. It really should, in fact. But anyway, add code to instantiate leader, add all the leaders, display the leaders. Okay, doesn't say anything about a static main method, but you need one. Okay, so leader array LA, does it ask it? It doesn't. Is equal to new leader array. Doesn't take any parameters, this constructor. And then system.println LA. So let's see if our code is working. I always like to check it before we do anything else extra, because the more code you write, the more difficult it becomes to find bugs. Okay, that's cool, except we are not putting them on a new line. which is easy enough to do. So we just add new line. And that's what it's useful to check as you go along. That should be quotes, double quotes, not single quotes. Okay, let's run this. There we go. That looks good. Cool. Jason got 32, which an example looks like it's right. That's cool. Okay, then code a method to sort the array of leader elements in descending order of their points. Use the method getPoints. Okay, so that means you don't need to do any new calculations. I like putting my methods before the toString, although you'll see I didn't do that in leader, but whatever. It's going to be a void method, I'm sure. Yeah, the only method that returns anything is string. So public void sort. And this is just for int I is equal to naught, I is less than size minus 1, I plus plus. This is really, you just sort of learn this. For int j is equal to I plus 1. Okay, you don't need to compare I to itself, so that's why we're starting at I plus 1. We go to size j is less than size j plus plus, and the reason for that is because we're going to be comparing oh wow, there we go. The reason this goes to size minus 1 is because j is always going to be at least 1 bigger than I, even right at the end. And so if I went to just less than size, then j would start at size, which is too big, and you'd get an index out of bounds. And I'm just going to format quickly there so everything looks nice. Right, cool. So we just want to sort it. So now it's actually pretty easy. So we go if lead Ri is greater than lead Rj, sorry, lead R can't be bigger. So lead Ri dot get points is greater than lead Rj dot get points. There we go. Then leader temp is equal to lead Ri, lead Ri is equal to lead Rj, and then lead Rj is equal to temp. I was just about to say it's equal to lead Ri, which I just said equal to lead Rj, so that's why I can't go lead Ri is equal to lead Rj is equal to lead Ri, because we've overwritten I. That's why we had to use the temp variable, and that should sort. Let's test it. I want it in descending order of points, but I might have it the wrong way around. Let's just go see. This next thing is add code to display all the leaders, then add code to sort, and then display all the leaders. So we can actually go system.out.println leader array.sort. I could do leader array.sort and then print it separately, but it will work. It's a void type. Okay, so I'm going to in fact need to go leader array.sort, and then I'm going to print it. I could do this. Okay, I guess I can't. Right, and let's run that. Are we in descending order? No, that's why I did want to check my sort. So that's very easy. Actually, I do want I to be greater than j. I want if I is less than j. There we go. We're sorting in. Okay, I figured out what the problem is. No, I haven't. I'm printing nothing. So you know what? I could be changing that. I could change the sort method much I like. I wouldn't see anything. Okay, right. Now we're printing this. There we go. So for my own benefit, I think I'm actually going to go system.out.println just so I don't get lost here. I'm just going to print a heading sorted. And over here, I'm going to print a heading original. Cool, there we go. So I can see there's the original unsorted. Here we are sorted. We're not sorted descending. Okay, so somewhere I have gone wrong. You can see we start descending and then we go back up again, which is actually fascinating. I am definitely sorting. Okay, so I've gone wrong with my sort somewhere. I is going from 0 to size minus 1. We're incrementing I. J is going, is that a 1? I typed a 1. That should be I plus 1. Okay, this should sort now. There we go. Okay, so sorry about that mistake. But yeah, I guess, it's handy, in fact, looking at me make mistakes, because, if you see a similar thing like that. Because if I'd started looking, like my swap's fine, my if's fine, so if I'd started looking there, I could have looked for a long time to try and figure out what was going on with my sort. Again, you can also see the benefit of regular testing. I don't think I messed up the original printing, but I did, in fact. I didn't put stuff in a new line. So yeah, test regularly. Okay, we've done sorts. Code a method to called vowels. Change the name of all the leaders to a very abbreviated form without vowels. Use the method remove vowels in questions 2.6. That should not be hard. So this is effectively the same ideas as toString. Public void remove vowels. Okay, and what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to go through the whole array. So from 0 to size, and then all I do is I go lead ri dot remove vowels. Cool. Oh wait, this is okay. I think this is probably meant to be code a method called vowels to change the names. Yeah, definitely a typo. Happens to all of it. I mean, I've made so many already. Certainly can't complain about a typo there in the exam. Cool. Once again, I want to test it out. Remove the vowels and display. Perfect. So we get leader UI. So now la.vowels, and then we're going to print la. And I think before I print la, I want to print abbreviate. And there we go. We can see, do we still have initial vowels? We do, and there's not a single vowel there. Let's just double check. So the so the CLN is Colin. That's perfect. THMB is Timber. Bob. Okay, so we're getting. If there's a vowel at the end, it's not being added. If there's a consonant at the end, it's not being added. We've got all our first letters, so I feel confident that that's working. Obviously, you could check every single element if you weren't. And then finally, code a method called find low ratings to remove any leaders who have any rating less than 3. So they want us to remove it. So I imagine here they want the actual array to change. It's also 9 marks. So yeah, they probably want the array to change. So let's do that. What's it called? Find low ratings to remove any leaders. I'd probably have called it remove low ratings, but whatever. So public. I think it's a bit ambiguous here whether they want the actual array to change. It does say the word remove, so I'm going to do it. The fact that they called it find low ratings makes me think that maybe they didn't, but if the question's ambiguous, then we'll go with that. So if you were doing this, if you thought I don't want to change the original array, then you'd just make it return a string or something of all the leaders who are still qualified, but we're going to remove them, so it's a void method. I mean, obviously, you could always, just because you could always do things like, this is quite common in actual real life, is you'd put a Boolean. And then the Boolean might return true if it found leaders to remove, or false if it didn't remove any, or it might return true if the method worked successfully, or false if it failed, and things like that. So now, a couple of ways to do this. I think I want public void delete int pos, and we're going to delete from pos. And all we're going to do here is another for loop. We're going to start at I'm an idiot. We're going to start at pos, okay? And we're going to keep going while we're less than size. This might need to be less than size minus 1. I don't really memorize these things. I just try them and see. Okay, and then we're going to say lead ri is equal to lead ri plus 1. Okay, so this is definitely going to have to go to size minus 1. Okay, because if it doesn't go to size minus 1, then as soon as this was at size, my I plus 1 would give me overflow error, and then I just decrement size. Of note here is that actually what's happened is we haven't actually removed the final thing. It's still there. We've just overwritten everything, and then we're just basically saying we're ignoring the other thing. But for the purposes of the IEB, they consider this to be a delete. So that's good enough for us. I mean, you could always go, if you really wanted to, you could go lead r size equals null. That would actually properly remove it, but not necessary. I'm going to test this. So before I do abbreviate, let's remove the position at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Clive should go. So la.delete wanted 4. That's Clive. Let's see if that works. Doesn't crash, and Clive has now gone, so that's cool. And now this is very important. This is a helper method, so it should be private. You'll often see code here somewhere that you're not allowed to add any new public methods, but we can add a helper method, so I've done that. And now it's actually quite easy. So now, once again, a for loop, we're going to go through the whole array, and basically if lead ri is if lead ri dot less than 3, so if it's true that this guy is less than 3, we're going to call delete at I. Okay, and because we're decrementing size here, and we're going based on size, it's not going to run into overflow or anything there. So let's do this. So presumably we have the last thing over here is going to be remove and then display the remaining leaders. So let's just say that I hate seeing the red thing. So let's print out, what are we going to call this? Removed leaders less than 3. And then we're going to say SLA dot find low ratings. Again, why would you call find low rate? It's removing. I really think that should be remove low ratings, but whatever. And then we're going to print out a leader array. And remove leaders less than 3. So that's anyone who's got anything less than 3, which doesn't appear to be working. So look, here's my camp rating. This guy's got less than 3. So Jared's all greater than 3. Jamal, or whatever his name is, this KRN is gone. So, here's a 1 here as well. Frank. So let's go look at my less than 3. I'm not entirely sure that's working. That's under leader, I think. Less than 3. If staff rating is less than 3, or grade 11 rating is less than 3, or grade 10 rating is less than 3, or camp rating is less than 3, return true. So, okay, I'm actually a bit confused here. So our toString is returning a name and then staff rating. So this guy has got a staff rating of 1. So staff rating is less than 3. Let's just print out name. So let's just testing name. Staff is equal to plus staff rating. And then let's put a little deleting. I mean, obviously it's not having this method, but it's going to happen when we call it. So let's test this. Let's see what's happening. So we're testing Jared's 5. He's got a staff rating of 2. So who was our guy that was coming in here? Frank. Where do we test? Okay, I feel like something is going wrong, because if you take a look here, we don't actually ever test Frank. We stop testing at CLN, but we don't test Frank. And yet Frank clearly exists there. Is our delete going wrong? I found those ratings. We're going eyes from 0. I know what's going wrong. I was actually over here where I glossed over the fact that we were we didn't need to worry about the size and everything. I was actually wrong. I'll explain why. So if you take a look over here, and this is again why it's important to test, because I was completely wrong there. So what's happening here is we're deleting I. Okay, so let's say we're deleting at position 5, where I is 5. We now actually, the new 5 is now position 6. Sorry, the old position 6 is now at position 5. I is going to increment to 6. Okay, and so we're not going to test the old thing. So if I throw in I minus minus here, everything should be working. Remove leaders less than 3. So, in fact, yeah, less than 3. BB's got less than 3. In fact, yeah, there's a lot of less than 3s. So it's literally only the first 2, in fact. Is that right? I almost feel like I want to go to leaders to tick. Let's just put one of these in the middle and let's make this dude. Let's put Timber in. Okay, cool. So now I'm happy that my code's working, and there we go. So yeah, hopefully you found that useful.